Welcome. Today we're going to discuss the mitzvah of tzedaka. What an important mitzvah. Many people think that when we give tzedaka, we are only helping the poor person. What we're going to learn today is that when we give tzedaka, we benefit as well. We're also going to discuss how much to give, and most importantly, we're going to learn how we are supposed to give. Let's start off by learning the psukim in Parshat Re'eh. The Torah says, Ki yeh v'cha evyon me'achad achecha, when one of your brothers will be in need, ba'achad sha'arecha ba'artzecha asher Hashem Elokecha noten lach, in one of your gates in the land that Hashem your God gives you, lo ta'ametz et levavecha v'lo tikpotz et yadecha me'achicha ha'evyon. Don't harden your heart or close your hand from your brother in need. The Torah continues, Ki patoach tiftach et yadecha lo. You should open your hand to him. Va'avei ta'avitenu. And you shall give or lend him. Dei machsaro asher yechsar lo. Enough for what he is lacking, that which is lacking for him. We'll discuss a little later why the idea of what he is lacking is repeated in the pasuk. Finally, the Torah says in pasuk Yud, Naton titein lo, v'lo yeira levavecha b'titecha lo. You shall give him and not feel bad in your heart about giving him. Ki beglal hadavar hazeh yivarechecha Hashem Elokecha. For because of this thing, Hashem your God will bless you, b'chol ma'asecha u'b'chol mishlach yadecha, in everything you do. In discussing this mitzvah, the Sefer HaChinuch says, Sheratza hakel liyot beru'av melumadim umurgalim b'midat hachesed v'harachamim. We are commanded to help the poor so that we can grow into the sensitive and caring people Hashem wants us to be. Second, umitoch hechsher gufam b'midot hatovot yiyu ru'uyim lekabalat hatova. By improving our midot and character when helping the poor, we become more worthy of the goodness that Hashem wants to give us. So we see that by helping the poor, we grow as people and become able to receive Hashem's gifts. One of the frequently asked questions concerning tzedakah is how much do we give? The Shulchan Aruch says that one should not give more than 1/5 of their money, and giving 10% is common practice. This is what people call ma'aser ksafim, giving 1/10 of your money to tzedakah. There is a three-way machloket, a halachic dispute, concerning the source of giving 10%. Some say it's a mitzvah d'oraita, commanded by Hashem. Others say it's a mitzvah d'rabanan, commanded by our sages. Finally, some hold it's only a minhag, a good custom adopted by the Jewish people. The Gemara in Ketuvot tells a powerful story about how to give tzedakah. The story begins. Every day, Mar Ukva would slide 4 zuz through the door of a poor man in his neighborhood. One day, the poor man decided, I'll go see who's giving me this money. On that same day, Mar Ukva was walking home from the Beit Midrash, and his wife was walking with him. When they went to deliver the money, the poor man tried to see who it was. Mar Ukva and his wife wanted to hide so that the poor person would not be embarrassed, but the only place to hide was a recently used outdoor oven. They jumped into the oven, though it was very hot. Her feet were unaffected by the heat, but his began to burn. So she told him, stand on my feet so you won't get hurt. And he was indeed saved. However, Mar Ukva was very upset. He saw that his wife was worthy of a special miracle, but he wasn't. He thought maybe somehow he had behaved improperly. His wife explained to him, the reason she had this extra merit is because when the poor came to see him, he was in the Beit Midrash, and all he could offer was money. But when the poor came to their home, she was able to offer them food along with the money she would give. This is why she had the extra protection. From this story, the Gemara learns that it is better for a person to go into a fiery furnace than to publicly embarrass somebody else. We see that when we help the poor, we have to be extremely careful to do it in a way that the person receiving the money will never be ashamed. Now, how much is the community supposed to give each ani? Well, as we learned before, the Torah uses a double expression, de machsaro, asher yechsar lo. The Gemara teaches us that from the first expression, de machsaro, according to what he is lacking, we are supposed to give the poor person that which he needs to live, but we don't have to make him rich. From the second expression, asher yechsar lo, enough for what he is lacking, the Gemara continues and says that if the ani was used to having special transportation and someone to announce his arrival, we have to make sure that he has that as well. In fact, the Gemara tells us there was a man who used to be rich, and Hillel HaZaken raised money for special transportation and an announcer for this man. One time, when Hillel was not able to get an announcer, he himself served as the announcer. Can you imagine? Why is it that the Torah expects us to keep a rich person in high style? Shouldn't it be enough that we get him basic needs? So as we learned before, a critical part of tzedakah is preserving the dignity of the ani. If it is unknown that this person is no longer rich, we try to make sure that he could keep his old appearances. However, there is an important exception. The Mefarshim teach us that if it is public knowledge that unfortunately this person has fallen on hard times, we don't have to keep him in his old lifestyle. So let's review. We have a mitzvah to help the poor. The Sefer HaChinuch teaches us that when we give tzedakah, we improve our character and become more worthy of Hashem's generosity. One should not give more than 20% of his money to tzedakah, and common practice is to give 10%. There is a three-way machloket whether the practice of giving 10% is a Torah mitzvah, a rabbinic mitzvah, or merely a custom. From Mar Ukva and his wife, we learn the extent to which we have to protect the dignity of the poor and others. We also learned that when we are able to do an extra kindness for the poor, we will also receive great rewards. Finally, we learned from the words de machsaro, we have to give what the poor person needs to survive. And from the words asher yechsar lo, we have to give the poor person what he needs to preserve his dignity. It was a pleasure learning with you today. Let's do it again soon.